Welcome to episode 15 of UK Edu Stories, everyone. And if you're joining us again, thank you. Welcome back. So this week's an interesting episode because we've got a number of different hosts, including Ollie, Andrew Cowley and Action Jackson. But the theme's actually going to be on well-being, mindfulness, and most importantly, how to make sure that teachers remain motivated as the various stages of lockdown continues, whether it's full lockdown, partial lockdown, not sure what phase of lockdown is actually happening. So we very much look forward to their advice, tips, and strategies they can actually give us as educators. So, but before we introduce our guest, Mark, how's your week been?
I don't think I've ever been quite so busy as I am in lockdown. I've got so many things that I'm involved with and doing. I had a technical rehearsal yesterday. Every year I do a big EdTech debate with Net Support. And so we've been getting those things sorted. We've got like a whole smorgasbord of amazing guests, from Bob Harrison to yourself to Dee Saran from Dubai College. We've got Martin Bailey. We've got so many great people coming together for the conversations. So I've been preparing for that. I've been working on a new version of the guide to creating a digital strategy. So indeed, lots of work around that. So that's going to be published very, very soon. I've been in talks with John Catt about my new book and getting those things sorted. So fantastically busy and all really, really positive stuff. Been doing the work for Microsoft as part of the Global EdTech Academy as well, with Q, and sharing sessions there. And keeping lots of plates spinning, but really, really busy. And I did a session as well earlier this week on Learn Live UAE with Jackson as well, and you'll be pleased to hear. And I'll share this again later. I've already been out running once already, and me running just never heard of. So absolutely, really, really tough. Really pleased as well, Bookie, to see we've had some guests come in and they're saying hello and welcome already. We've got Chandan, Atuba, Saeed, Divya. Thank you so much for coming in and to join us in the show. But back over to you, Bookie. How's your week been?
Well, my week is busy. Ironically busy, just in different ways. So I did a presentation over the weekend for Women Ed. That was really great, looking at strategies to try and minimise our imposter syndrome. Followed a couple of days later with Ascend Focus on science, so talking about some of the strategies we use in my school. Lots of different things. I've had migraines, again, mild migraine attacks for the last couple of days, so I think it's good because it's just forced me to slow down a little bit. But a better week, busy, but just enjoying it and taking it each day as it comes. So thanks for asking, Mark.
I was lovely to work with you as well, Bookie. And one of the things, viewers, that I've really enjoyed actually about the experience of working both on the Learn Live UAE show, and I'm sure Ollie will talk about that a little bit in a moment, but also the opportunity. We've known each other for many years, Bookie, but our friendship has gone from strength to strength these last few weeks. And so I want to just publicly just say how much I really appreciate you and all the hard work you do behind the scenes, setting up these shows, working with our guests and getting things ready. It's really fantastic working with you. So thank you so much for all that you do, because you make everything so much better. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure working with you as well. And as I say, I always enjoy learning from you, but thanks. I do appreciate that. And thanks for the opportunity as well. It's just great. So thanks, Mark.
That's my absolute pleasure. So look, we've got some more comments coming in. I'm just going to flip through here. We've got Nina joining us again. Nina was a guest last week as well. So welcome to the show, Nina. And she's commenting as well. Nice to see we're checking in on each other, and well-being matters. So thank you for your comment, Nina. If you weren't able to watch the show last week, please do jump onto our channel. And you can watch that back. The show last week with Nina and Claire Erasmus was absolutely fantastic, and I got so much from it. Each week we always feel like we could go on for another hour, don't we? But thank you so much for joining us this evening, Nina. So should we bring our first guest on then?
Yes, please. Ollie. Now, I forgot for a moment. I forgot his surname. Ollie Lewis. Sorry, Ollie. Mental block for a moment.
Oh, there we go. All right. It's Thursday, Bucky. Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you keeping?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, it's Thursday night. So I'm over in the Middle East, anyone that's watching. So Thursday night is the weekend. So it's effectively your Friday night. Yeah, I'm really good, thanks. We've just finished week 13 of online learning at school. 3 more to go and it's the summer holidays.
Well deserved. I can imagine a round of cheers that's going to go in 3 weeks' time. Well deserved. Well deserved.
Yeah, I think, well, same for you guys back in the UK, really. I think, everyone's just giving what they can, and their absolute best for the students.
Absolutely.
I think, once that holiday rolls around, it'll be well deserved for teachers across the globe, not just in the Middle East. Hi, Nina. I hope you're still fizzy.
So Ollie knows Nina as well. Nina and I organised an event called EdTech Impact. Crikey, Ollie, how many years ago was that? That was a good 4, maybe 5. It was quite a few years ago. And Ollie attended the day. And we organised that. It was myself and Nina, and Lee Parkinson did that day. So fantastic. You think she is still fizzy? Brilliant stuff. So, Ollie, you presented recently, and congratulations again. And for the viewers who don't know about this, lots of UK viewers will know of the BET event that happens every year in January, where the Nightingale currently is at London Excel. There's a light version of that event called Guess, which happens in Dubai. There's BET's Middle East as well, which is another fantastic event in the Middle East. That's happening later this year in December, I believe. But the Guest event happened just before lockdown started, and just like the BET event, they have an award ceremony, and Ollie actually was an award winner for his implementation of Century Tech at his school, which is the British International School of Abu Dhabi. So congratulations again to you, Ollie, for that. You, as part of that, in recognition of that, you were asked I believe it was last week, to join a webinar with on the sort of the guest sort of vlogcast. I forget the actual name of it. I'm really sorry. But you presented on there talking about motivation, didn't you? And so I'm really, really pleased to have Ollie on the show tonight. And Ollie, you've got your presentation slide sort of referencing here. So are you ready to present your presentation to everybody now? And if we run through that quickly, not 5 minutes or so to run through that, and then we'll come back with some questions for you afterwards. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah. If you want to, thank you for the shout out there. It's very kind of you. I'm more than happy to go through it. I'm presenting on my device, so can you add me to the stream?
Yeah, you're added in, my friend, and we can see your slide ready to sort of move through your various animations.
Wonderful. I suspect. I think what's really, really important before I kind of delve into this is that it's housed around all of this is relationship.
I'm so sorry. Sorry, oh God.
It's a live
show. As I was saying, housed around all of this is relationships, whether that's relationship with yourself, relationships with your peers, or relationships with your students. So a couple of strategies then for educators. Also during sort of lockdown or online learning or through the summer holidays that I think are really, really important and valuable for us in terms of maintaining motivation is now's a really, really good time to focus on skill development. And whether that's you upskilling yourself in terms of your knowledge and reading books, or whether it's becoming more proficient at something as simple as using PowerPoint or your visualizer, I think it's really, really important to find a skill that you want to improve on and work at that slowly and steadily. And a part of that, I think, is really, really important to be specific and monitor your progress. That's not so that you can feel downtrodden if you're not making the progress that you want, but so that you can actually look back over the course of a day, a week, a month, or even a couple of months, and actually look through that kind of telescopic lens and look at how far you've come, both on your own and supporting your colleagues in terms of developing that new skill set that you're working on. I think it's really, really important as well to be patient at this time, because we know that change takes time, certainly on a school level, and we can say the same thing for ourselves as practitioners and educators in working in teams or in schools, or even with our students. So I think it's really, really important to remind ourselves to have and to be patient and be present in the moment. backing all of those things up and those ideas is breaking your goals down into short and long-term goals, so that you have something that's tangible that you can work towards, and it's not this big blue sky thinking idea that really feels massively unattainable. And if you chunk it down into little goals along the way, you've got a better success, I think, or chance of success, as well as maintaining your own motivation, which I think is massively important. And I think something that I know the other guests will likely tap into, and that's adjusting your language. And it's moving from that, oh, I can't do that, to I'm going to have a go and I'm going to see what happens. And actually adjusting that internal dialogue that you have with yourself, as well as outwardly facing with either your friends or your peers or even your students, so that you're always looking and seeking for the positive. Because I think that's really, really important in our current state of affairs, that you identify and you search for the positive things that are happening, and you use that to adjust your internal language. When you're talking about students, then I think it's really, really important to maintain their motivation, certainly at the moment with distance learning. So I think it's really important to give them the opportunity to be really, really creative and think outside the box, not only with how they produce their learning, but also in terms of how they communicate that learning, both with you and with their peers. That means then that we need to really give them some opportunity of choice. We know that in terms of sort of intrinsic motivating factors, when you feel like you have ownership of something due to the opportunity of choice, you're likely to invest more into whatever task or challenge it is that you're doing. So giving that opportunity for authentic decision making on the student's behalf, I think really, really will help boost their motivation levels. Also, attuned to that, it's making it relevant and authentic to them. So it might be speaking in their language, or how you're portraying a particular piece of information, phrasing it, but also applying it in a context that's familiar to them, and something that they can associate with. That's proven to help improve motivation with that particular concept. And backing those three ideas up then is really, really important, much like adjusting your own internal language and focusing on positive things, but giving positive praise and feedback for students. And rather than promoting and really giving feedback for intellectual capacity and capability, actually it's more important now, I think, to give praise and feedback for efforts. Because I think in the long term, we know that that's going to intrinsically motivate the students to want to do better by acknowledging that effort that they've gone through, the struggle with dealing with whatever learning or situation is in front of them. And I think a part of that is making sure that you have this kind of culture of embracing errors in a threat-free environment, so that we see it as a learning opportunity. You see sort of ideas of failure is, fail stands for first attempt in learning, but actually I think there's truth within that somewhere, that you see that opportunity and you accept it, but actually you learn from it and you move on to better things as a result of that. I think looking at everybody then, regardless of teacher or student, I do think it's important to limit your time online. You see so many negative things, whether it's on edgy Twitter or the press, the media, just online in general. I think it's really, really important that you do limit the time that you spend online, because you're bound to come across something that's negative at some point, and that's going to lead to you having negative thoughts. As you've alluded to already, Mark, exercise is massively important to, release those endorphins. And whether that skill is either a physical or a mental exercise, it's really important to get that grey matter working, as well as exercising your muscles. As I've sort of alluded to in some of the other points, seek out the positive, focus on the good, and really look at the difference that those things have made. And ultimately, reach, connect, and have open, honest conversations with your friends, your family, your support network, your professional learning network, because, we can motivate each other massively. So, I don't have to go far within my own Professional Learning Network to look at, any of the guests on the show tonight. Mark, yourself, Bucky, Andrew, Action, other friends that I've got in the Middle East, Mark Ryan, who's at Run and Rant, to help connect and make me feel aligned and share experiences with that help drive and motivate me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
Yeah, it's
advice,
really. Yeah, particularly
Do you have
where
any
you.
questions?
Oh, sorry, sorry, Mark. No.
Yeah.
I thought what was really interesting was about the language adjustment, just in terms of what we verbalize, but also our own internal dialogue, so that we look for the positives and seek the positives wherever we find them. That was a really interesting aspect to highlight as part of, obviously keeping ourselves motivated.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important, because you need to make it a habit, actually. I think that's really important to sort of start by saying that first, that naturally, quite often we're not necessarily preordained to see the negative in a particular scenario, but we're bombarded with information constantly, and more often than not you pick up kind of negative connotations or things that you could always improve on, rather than going, well, actually, if you take students in a test, for example, a student might be really upset that they got 75%, but actually you've got 3/4 of the information down, and that's amazing. That's brilliant. You've only got a quarter to go. So it's kind of changing that dialogue within yourself to say, well, I didn't know how to really quickly adjust a PowerPoint slide just now, but now I know how to action, bringing in 15 things all at once in one particular order in 3 clicks. It's just acknowledging, I think, the good and focusing on that, really. I think that's really important, but it takes time. It takes time to make that habit.
True. Yeah. Old habits die hard sometimes. Yeah. But as you say, it's a good point that you're saying that as well, about it takes time, because it's the persistence in actually trying to create new habits that serve us well. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Bucky.
Okay.
I completely agree, Ollie, with the things you're talking about there, and actually making those things sort of really good. The things that you do every day, those habits that you form, you only form habits when you actually make them habits, by going through those processes and doing them all the time. And so, that's the difficult part about motivating yourself to actually do it. I haven't yet, but I mentioned it before on our show on Monday. But I'm grateful to Gary Henderson, who has been sharing regularly about his Catch 5K activities, and he's now completed that. So fantastic and well done to him. But that's a real motivator for me. So I went out for a run around the park. I mean, for me, just about running full stop is a big deal. But to do that and go around, I would say it was a big deal for me, and I'm going to get the Catch 5K up, and I'm going to start looking through. If I ever get the 5K, I mean, crikey, how long will it take me to run 5K without stopping? Good and alone knows. But every journey starts with a single step, and you use the whole fail analogy yourself as well, Ollie. So absolutely fantastic there. Something that helped me actually, and this is also really linked to our next guest, actually. If any of you have seen the periodic table that I created recently with various books on, you may have seen this book, which is the Wellbeing Toolkit by Andrew Cowley. And I found it super useful. Loads of things in here to help you sort of get yourself motivated and all this around your well-being. And so we're really pleased and proud to be able to invite Andrew onto the show tonight. So with that in mind, I'm just going to bring Andrew into the studio now. And so, hi, Andrew, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Andrew.
I'm very well, thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on our show this evening.
Yep, we've been super busy. I'm in primary school. We are we've not been closed. We are gradually reopening, so I'm back on duty full time. Not that I've been off, but I'm in school all the time now. So there's additional challenges on top of everything else that we have to manage at the moment.
Yeah, I can imagine.
There's a lot to loads to think about. It's not an easy scenario for any school, is it? So how are you going about sort of maintaining well-being in the school and looking after staff and parents and the whole community and obviously the students, the pupils? How are you approaching that?
Well, we are fortunate that we've got a very good community spirit in our schools, and we've really built on, and we very much the importance of team and togetherness. And we've been incredibly united as a staff. Everyone's volunteered to chip in. People have volunteered to come in when they don't need to, even though our priority as school leaders is to make sure everyone is safe. But people want to come in. We are in daily contact with parents through our messaging app. We use an app called Class Dojo, which some people will be familiar with, and there's motivational messages every day to them. And we're also keeping in touch with them with a weekly Wellbeing toolkit newsletter, which I write with my friend Kelly Hannigan, who I hope is listening in, and we share that amongst our schools, but we've actually shared that through our Twitter accounts as well, and that's actually been read quite widely across the country as well. So we're doing a lot to get everyone involved, and they're really just celebrating and recognising everyone all the time. And a key thing we ask everyone in an email or on WhatsApp, or when we call them, is how are you? And actually genuinely think how everyone is.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to say before I ask my first question to you, thank you so much for that well-being, the newsletter that you share, because I've not only have I read it, but I've also shared it with what I refer to as my non-social media networks, who greatly appreciate it and use it in supporting the learning for their children as well as keeping them motivated. So thank you so much for that. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So would you be able to share some of the I suppose well-being issues that educators have actually experienced? And I know it's a very wide question, but the type of things they've actually experienced during the lockdown that you're aware of?
Yeah, actually I find a lot of things I've been talking about in my writing and blogging is actually incredibly relevant to what's happening right now. There's a number of things which I think are key. Particularly for school leaders, and the first one of those is paperwork, the amount of paperwork that is there, and I'm including in that the documentation that comes through from the departments at anti-social hours, should we say.
Okay.
I also think there's also one of the challenges is inconsistency as well, inconsistent message from authority, which has created a great deal of uncertainty and anxiety as well amongst school, not just school leaders, but amongst whole staff as well, because the last few weeks with the return, are we on, are we off, which classes are coming back, that's caused a fair amount of anxiety for everyone. Are they coming back or not? And I don't believe there's a single teacher in this country who doesn't want to come back and doesn't want to be teaching, but to have is constantly put through the ringer of the press and the news conference every day is telling, should we say?
Okay. Yeah, very. Yeah, I can agree. I'm sure. I don't think there's anyone going to disagree with what you've actually said, particularly about the uncertainties and the anxieties, because that has been something that even with like my friends who told parents, carers, TAs, school leaders, it's a running theme, and that level of uncertainty has made anxiety levels just shoot through the roof. But as you say, just to reiterate, many educators, that's the reason why they're just finding ways to just battle through one way or another with the online teaching and learning, because they want to do it right by their students and the school community. So it's, obviously they want to go back to school, but it's that feeling of being safe. And, and then you have obviously members within the community that, like, for example, for the statistics to say like BAME educators, the government statistics that actually shared that, BAME members of the community are more likely to contract the disease. So again, that's another level for anxiety. So yeah, so anxiety, I think you're right, for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, and it's not helped with the coverage in the press either. I've advised my colleagues to not look online at the press, not to buy the newspapers, and to mute certain words on the.
Oh, has Andrew disappeared?
He's just disappeared for a second there. Dun, 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 dun.
I wonder if it related to what he said.
I hope
dear.
not. He's just coming back into the show now. And
Okay,
welcome,
brilliant.
Andrew.
Great to see you back, Andrew.
We lost you for a second.
Popped out a moment.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
You were saying then.
I don't know if you got everything. I think I was in the middle of a message about press and social media coverage, and I advise my colleagues to mute or to avoid that sort of coverage where possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were talking about sort of avoiding certain keywords in the things they were looking at and looking for when they were working or using social media was where you just dropped off.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a crucial thing to do. I think there's a lot of negativity, a lot of things that are incorrect reported in the press. But having spoken to a lot of my parents, they know that it's untrue, and they find it very, very unhelpful. It's interesting that there's been very little conversation with parents on the television or in the newspapers about their feelings about this. Only just in this week, when they're actually communicating how fed up their children are and how fed up they are, which actually is something that we've been aware in my school from the outset, which is what's the mental health of our children and our parents like at the moment.
Yeah.
And already we're thinking, when we return in greater numbers, what kind of support can we offer? We're already looking at parent support groups. We're looking at putting into place some sort of trauma counselling for children, looking at building friendship groups. That's an essential part of what's often called the hidden curriculum, which is absolutely important and vital that we get back into play as we move along.
Thank you. Sorry, Mark.
Thank you, Andrew. So, just jumping back into your book then for a second, wrong way round and upside down. Let's get it right here. Here's your book. It's just perfect. I found it really useful. But for those people who are watching, could you just spend a bit of time talking a little bit about your book and some of the things in here that you think might be helpful for schools? Because clearly this is about your sort of joint approach and how you're doing things yourself and within your communities and things you picked over the years as well. But are there any sort of gems or nuggets or things in here that you could direct people to? Obviously, this is great if you're working at school and you're looking for this sort of thing to help you with what you're doing around the well-being of your whole community. Then I'd say it's a great place to start looking. But have you got anything, some sort of key takeaways that people could sort of take from the book that you could share with us that would be of use to our viewers, Andrew?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Mark, for I think one of the crucial things that if people read what I say is I'm really thinking about leadership and well-being, and thinking about how school leaders can actually put meaningful well-being into place, and avoiding the sort of very tokenistic things like having a well-being day at the beginning of the year with a bit of massage and yogurt and fresh fruit on the snubbering table. That's great in September, but when you come to December of a normal year, when you're up to your eyeballs in assessments and deadlines and flu and Christmas pressures, that's very, very different. Wellbeing needs to be an everyday experience, and it's built into the very culture and relationships within the school. If your relationships are good, well-being is in a position to thrive. If well-being culture is poor, you're going to have things like favoritism considered. You're going to have people being off unwell, drop the hat, and not really thinking in terms of being a team player. I believe very strongly that someone in senior leadership needs to be the well-being lead, or if they're not, someone who has the absolute trust of the senior leadership to listen to what they have to say, rather than simply being a pot for listening to complaints, but actually be practical about what you would like to do with well-being and workload, and how you can actually make your staff feel comfortable and thrive in the environment which they're working.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. I wanted to go back to one aspect that you mentioned before, Andrew, in terms of one of the aspects that's actually causing it's impacting upon well-being, particularly for school leaders, is around workload. So you mentioned about the paperwork and things like that. Do you have any well-being advice for educators that are really struggling to balance in terms of, I suppose, workload, particularly with this new way of working?
It's always a tricky one because everyone's obviously very different.
Mm-hmm.
I think an essential thing is to look where your priorities are.
Okay.
And if you're good at time management and prioritizing those key things and knowing what to dismiss, knowing what you don't need to be using your time up with, which are meaningless tasks, can actually make things useful in what you do. I think that's a crucial thing. So you're not using all your time up. Time is our most precious resource as educators, and if we don't have that time to do our jobs, but also to have time for ourselves, then we are not doing ourselves many favours.
Okay, thank you. I totally agree about the time aspect. But yeah, thank you so much. Mark, have you got any questions to add in addition to that?
I do, but I wondered, I'd say, Ollie, you're already in the chat with us, although you've muted up for a second, so I agree. Given your position in your school on school leadership and these things, do you have any questions, first of all, for Andrew? And are there any parallels to the advice and things that Andrew's sharing, which you've got some actual examples of from within your school?
Yeah, I think it's great to hear Andrew talk about transparent leadership. And I think all too often it's, you hear of stories of schools where it's not okay not to be okay. But actually, I think, leaders need to lead from the front within schools and model the behaviours that they want to see. And that's especially important with our own well-being and workload. In our school, we've got a swag group, and that's been going since pre-lockdown. So it's a staff wellbeing and action group. It's got everything from a staff choir to reading to it's got a yoga group, it's got a cooking group, it's got kind of community service stuff. It's got kind of absolutely everything from pub quizzes to question of sport, and it's all run by the teachers for the teachers, and they've all volunteered to do it because that's the culture within our school is that we're here to help each other, and I think you get that when you have that kind of transparent leadership within a school where we focus on each other and as Andrew said right at the start, you ask everybody that simple question that we often forget: are you okay? How are you doing? And that's kind of the fabric of our being. I guess my question for Andrew is, let's say you find yourself in, what do you do when you work in a school like that and you reach that kind of crux point where, say it's in the depths of November and you've got 20 million things to do on your to-do list, but you really know that you need to put your own oxygen mask on for a bit, yet you still feel guilty. What would you do then? What should you do when you've got a deadline that's like it needs to be in?
Yeah, interesting. Ollie used the word guilty. Teacher guilt is a genuine thing, isn't it? I always encourage people, if they are feeling overwhelmed, to actually say, and if they can say early, that's actually the most helpful thing to them and to us, because if we find out too late, and this is which would be a sort of reactive thing, then you are potentially causing some problems for that person or for yourselves. If you're proactive, and if you actually genuinely know your staff and what makes them tick, then you can identify when they might be feeling the pressure and it's piling up upon them. So a crucial thing for any school leader is to actually think about your deadlines and your key events as they come along. And it's really important to manage those so people aren't feeling overwhelmed. Primary school experience, Christmas starts in October, as we know, and building up to through nativities. Nativities they're great for parents, they're very jolly, but the stress that staff go through is it's incredible. People add that on top of other things that add to it. What we've done this year in particular, before the virus, obviously, we actually shifted our end of term assessment away from the end of term and did it in the beginning of January, because that just took that burden at the end of term away from everyone when they're exhausted after a 17-week term with everything else going on. So we took that particular burden away and did the assessments at the beginning of January when there's more time, it's more fresh.
Okay.
That's great advice. Thank you ever so much, Andrew. And thanks for your comments and question too, Ollie. I'm just going to jump for a second into our live chat. Thank you to our guests who are joining us from New Delhi this evening. We've got a truly international audience. We've got Divya, who's making comments, and Chandan, who's jumping in. He's asking about what about positive news stories? Why should we always focus on negative things? And Meenakshi says, yes, Andrew, time management is absolutely key, and continues on to say that it's about setting these priorities and getting those things sorted. We've got some more comments as well, which is a question saying, do you suggest anything for younger ones here, from Chandan as well? I'm going to leave that question, Chandan, if that's okay, for a few minutes' time, because I'm mindful of the show lasting an hour, and we do need to get our next guest on. So if it's okay with everybody here, we can come back to that question later on. Is it okay with everybody to come back to that question later on?
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, just hoping that he's ready. I can see that and I mentioned him, Jackson, for coming and joining us. I can see his microphone's muted and his screen is off, so he might be off for a second. He's back. He's dancing. Here you go. Brilliant. Welcome into the chats, Jackson. How are you, sir?
I am doing amazing. Good evening to everyone. How you doing, Andrew? Thank you so much, Adi. Thank you, Bookie.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. How's your week been so far?
You know what? The week has been busy. The week has been amazing. And everything that we've been doing has just been online video. I had an assembly with 147 year 10 students this week, just getting them focused because the motivation has been dwindling. So I've been glued to my screen. I've been doing a bit of DI to convert my garage into a studio/office because of the lockdown. So it's been adventurous. I'm loving it.
Cool. I saw that year 10 assembly. It was really inspiring. And I have to say, I'm now going to create a vision board because of what you said. I thought, actually, so there's great tips for the year 10s and also for adults as well. So thank you for that.
No, definitely really enjoyed it. It was
okay, cool. So
great. I'm glad.
Okay, linked to that, I just wanted to just kick off with the first question. So anyone that actually knows you, Action, they associate high levels of energy with you. How would you mind sharing with the audience and our guests, how do you keep yourself so motivated?
Just wondering. Oh, are you back, Action? You there? We lost you for a second there. Are you still with us?
Oh, I'm back.
Okay.
Yeah, what was the question?
All right.
High levels of energy. Where do I get it from?
Yeah. Well, how do you keep yourself motivated?
you know what? It's I think sometimes we underestimate the simple things. Life is a gift. Life is a gift, and we is gratitude. I'm grateful for transferring life to people, and for me, that's the key thing. When you're able to give life to others, and my secret weapon is gratitude, and seeing other people happy as well, and making other people happy. That's definitely a secret weapon of mine. So I can't even explain the source, but I know the source is joy, and joy comes from gratitude.
Thank you. So before I hand over to Mark, can I just ask, do you do like a daily gratitude jog? Sorry, let me start again. Do you note down like in a log or something like that your gratitudes on a daily basis, or is it just something that you just mentally process? How do you capture the sense of gratitude that you have?
Well, so some people make lists. For me, I'm consciously aware. When I walk through my house, I'll just like, wow, thank you for this house. I get into the car and I talk to my car, thank you, car. You know, so there's so many different things. So I walk through, literally touch stuff and say, thank you for that. Thank you for my throat. Thank you for my arm. So I do the active thing. You know, I look at my daughter, I say, wow, I'm thankful for that. So it's not even a list thing. I think the list thing, you'll disassociate from it. But when you physically go around your house and start touching things like, oh, I'm grateful for my new laptop that's allowed me to do what I need to do. I'm grateful for Wi-Fi, and I think, you know, so these things is how I stay motivated. In gratitude, I physically go and touch stuff and really reflect on them.
Okay, thank you so much. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Bookie. Nice comment here from Nina, actually. It's fabulous to see the neurological mirror neuron system kicking there. As soon as Action Jackson started smiling from ear to ear, the rest of you mirrored his face too. Ooh. And it's true, you know, you've got such a power of positivity about you, Jackson. Honestly, you know, I did a show with you on Monday with Ollie, which was just absolutely fantastic. And I've been massively motivated from that conversation. It was really lovely to have you join us on the show. It's great to hear how you actually go about motivating yourself, because it is really a difficult thing to motivate yourself. It's really difficult at the moment as well when there's such a period of sustained uncertainty at the moment. These things do eat away at us. It's really difficult to sustain that motivation. You know, I'm grateful for my laptop massively, because I don't know where I'd be as a single guy at home without the connectivity that I have here. I don't know where I'd, you know, if lockdown had been 10 years ago, I don't know where I'd be, quite frankly. Yeah. You know. So, but how you know, what advice do you have for people who are getting a bit more, who are struggling and being a bit more demoralised? This is one of the questions we asked on Monday on Learn Live UAE with educators who aren't going to go home and see their, a lot of expats who aren't going to go home and see their families, for example, this summer. What advice do you have for teachers? And if that's going to link in things you're going to share in your presentation, you're very welcome to jump into your presentation to sort of reinforce that if you'd rather do it that way. So to you.
Yeah, okay. Let's I'll just share my screen for a bit. I don't want to sort of kill you with PowerPoints and stuff, but I think to have a visual reference would be very useful. For everybody that's watching, thank you so much for joining us. It's amazing to have this conversation about well-being. So my name's Action quote. Okay, here's the quote. The best way to predict the future is to create it. So it's all about creating the life that you want, not being a victim to things, but being the creator of things. And there is something, I'm just going to kick off today. Dream big, act now, never give up. You are amazing. Bear that in mind for a second. And the big question I'm asking tonight is this, and this is the key question I want to ask everybody that's watching. And I think the Black Eyed Peas, they have a song called Where is the Love? Where is the love? And the question I'm asking tonight to each and every one of us is, where is the fun? Where is the fun? I think sometimes we forget to have some fun. So with that said, I got my guitar here right now. And quick song, just to show you the element of fun and what it does for us. Honestly, I'm Action Jackson. I'm not about theory, I'm about practice. So the lyrics are on the screen, and we're going to sing along.
Oh no!
Oh, and it's
Oh,
gonna.
no. We're about to get going with a bit of Green Beer Cat now. But I'll tell you what, he'll never give up because he's amazing. That's a bit of continuity for the show there while he just comes back in there.
Oh dear.
I love working with Jackson. You know, I mean, he has had audiences up singing 100, 200, 300, 400. He is such an inspiring gentleman. So I'm really looking forward to him coming back in now.
Oh, yep, here we go. Okay.
Show must go on.
I've been doing your up in the meantime.
All right.
Let's bring you full screen. Nina Jackson just said you better get into it. Ready to do some chair dancing.
I'm with you, Nina. Okay, right.
So my question was, where is the fun? And the song is Dream Big, Act Now, Never Give Up. You are amazing. Dream big, act now, never give up. You're amazing. Dream big, act now, never give up. You're amazing. Everybody say, dream big, act now, never give up. You're amazing. Dream big, act now, never give up. You're amazing.
Get the actions in there. Act now. Never give up. You're amazing.
So,
oh my goodness.
So for me, I'm a big fan of theory, but I love practice. My question to everyone is this: where is the fun? Where is the fun in all that we're doing? I mean, the theory is there, the practices are there, but let's not forget fun, because life is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be enjoying ourselves on the journey. We're supposed to be having that fun. And if we're not having that fun, the question is, why are we not having that fun? Why should we be connected to just the work? Well, let's bring in the fun. So that's the question I'm asking you tonight, is where is the fun in everything that we're doing? So 3 things I work with: happiness, achievement, and impact. But it all starts with happiness, and happiness comes with fun, because happiness is the fuel for achievement. And when you achieve, you're able to make an impact. That's how I see things pan out in life. There is this thing, it's the 5 levels of mastery, knowledge. There's many things that we know, and knowledge changes your perception. Perception changes your conviction, i.e. knowledge, I should be running. Perception, running is good for you. Okay, I get it. Conviction, oh man, I should have gone for a run this week. When that hits you, then at least you're in a good place. But nothing changes until you get into the realm of habit. Habit is when the rubber hits the road. Habit is when you don't just know about fun, you start to do fun. Just what we did right there. We skipped knowledge and we went straight to yellow, which is habit. Now, if we stay at habit long enough, we become the knowledge that we've learned. We become fun people. Rather than knowing about fun, we are fun people. And I think that's very critical on our journey through life, that what are the things we need to do in this season? Your thoughts will always affect your emotions. Emotions will affect your actions. Actions will affect your results. So I'm working on a book at the moment called Happy School 365, How to Motivate Learners. And part of what I put in that book is all about how do we motivate ourselves to motivate the kids. The key question I want you to understand today is this: when you learn something new, you become someone new. I'll leave that on the screen for a second. When you learn something new, you become someone new. Over the next period of a couple of months, what's that new thing you're going to learn that's going to bring you outside of your comfort zone? Because we know about the neurological connections in our brain. Whenever we learn something new, physically we do change. The neurological pathways in our brain change. As you were dancing to my songs, the neurons in your mind, they started to fire off, endorphins hitting your body. So I challenge everybody, where is the fun? Where is the fun in what you're doing? Maybe you can dance. Maybe you can learn how to sing. Maybe it's pottery. Maybe it's wood carving. I'm going to be taking up wood carving this summer because I realized that I have an issue with patience. I'm very passionate, but I find it hard to wait for the results because I can see the picture so clearly. So I believe wood carving is going to help me to get my zen back. Number 5, fishing maybe. If you've never done it before, challenge those assumptions. Number 6, poker. Learn how to play poker. I can't play poker. Maybe it's something you can learn how to play to change that neurological pathways. Cooking, DIY. I was supposed to pay someone to do my flooring. I decided not to pay anyone. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do it myself. That's stretching myself. Pottery and maybe learn how to be a comedian. You never know. My question today is this: where is the fun in everything that you're doing? Make this a summer of fun, a summer where you can remember that, wow, I let loose. I let my hair down. In my case, there's no hair. I just let my hair down. And in Ollie's case, there's no hair, definitely. So we're in the same boat. We're in the same boat, okay?
I'm with you.
So,
I'm with you.
where is the fun? That's the question I'm going to ask everyone today. Before we go to question, let's go back into the song. Dream big and now, never give up. You're amazing. Dream big and now, never give up.
You're amazing.
Dream big and now, never give up.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Jackson. Lovely comment here from Divya. Absolutely fantastic opening statement from Action Jackson. Life is a gift. Just be grateful for everything. Some fantastic conversations in the chat this evening.
Yeah.
I mean, if that is one takeaway from the whole evening this evening and the conversations and debates we've had, then let that be it, really, because life is so short and making the most of it. Where's the fun in that? I'm a huge believer in research-informed processes in teaching and learning. But actually, if you haven't got your learners on site, if you're not actually bringing them with you on the journey, and it's all part and parcel of it, I think, isn't it? And so, thank you so much for such an energizing and effervescent presentation. I'm glad you didn't ask the questions like you asked me and Ollie in our show. I was waiting for some more questions like that. About having no hair. I've got too much hair after 16 weeks of being under lockdown. But thank you so much for joining us this evening, Jackson. I'm going to jump back through in chat to the question that we had earlier. And the question was, do you suggest anything for the younger ones? And I'm going to start with you, Jackson, with that question. I'll come back to you, Andrew, when he comes back. If he can go back in time, we'll jump to Ollie first. But we'll go in the Jackson, Andrew, and Ollie order. What advice have you got for anything to sort of keep your young ones motivated?
Well, one of the things I was telling the young year 10s the other day was to create a vision board for what they would like to achieve one day. Many children, they're really fixated. They're fearful of the future. They're not too sure. So go online and just copy pastes pictures of what you want for your future. Have fun, be a kid again. So to create a digital vision board, and share it with your friends. Create a collage of the place you'd like to live, places you'd like to travel to. This thing, it sparks up your imagination and it stops you from being anxious of what's yet to come. So that's definitely one area that you can definitely begin to, create the world that you want. The other area is begin to write a story. Could create a movie, a mini movie, Teens on Lockdown, and then you do a write-up. So there are many young people who've got so many different skills. I say this is the season and time to tap into those skills, the things that tug your heart, but definitely starting with a vision board is a great exercise. Create a vision board and discuss this with your friends. Make videos of, who you would like to become one day so that you're future focused, but you're also enjoying the present. Also, I would say is this. Do your bed challenge, i.e. keep your bed tidy for the next 12 days. That would be a challenge. Because if you keep your bed tidy for the next 12 days, it gets your mind into a good habitual space. That's a good one, doing your bed every single day. The third one is the focus exercise. Get an object, put it in front of you, and see if you can concentrate on that object for about 60 seconds plus. And when you break focus, start again. it helps you to discern and focus on your ability to focus, because most of our young people find it hard to concentrate. So turn it into a game. When did you lose focus? Once you lose focus, write the time down, try it again, and try and beat your time every time. Because the problem is our mind is all over the place, and we can use that to develop our focus.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. I love the make your bed thing. I saw a speech by a US Admiral, William McRaven, and he talks about a really important thing in the Navy is to make your bed. Doesn't matter how terrible your day's been, if you make your bed in the morning, when you go to bed, at least your bed's made. You know, and he drives that message home really, really strongly in that presentation. And that's another thing that stuck with me. But I mean, you got so many fantastic ideas there, Jackson. Thank you so much for sharing those. Moving over to you, Andrew, just to wrap up with the last question for yourself. Do you suggest anything for the younger ones around motivation, mindfulness, and well-being? Not sure if you heard my question there, Andrew. Did you have any suggestions for the younger students about mindfulness and motivation?
Oh, I think the mic is...
Might not have heard that. Ollie, did you hear the question okay? I heard the question, yeah. We had our students the other day. It's parallel really with Action's vision board, but so we had them, imagine yourself in 2 years' time, and then write a letter to yourself, telling you what do you want to achieve and what steps are you going to take along that way to become that future version of yourself that you want to have, and got them to go through that reflective process. And actually, it was amazing to see some of the things that the students wrote to themselves, and the advice that they gave each other. So it's similar to Action's idea there. It's thinking about what you want to become and taking steps in order to achieve that.
Fantastic, Ollie. Thank you ever so much for sharing those insights. And another great idea about writing a letter to your future self there from your own practice in the school there. Andrew, before we sort of wrap up, did you have a comment about that question before about ideas for younger pupils, about keeping them motivated?
Hi, good evening.
I'm not sure Andrew can actually hear me. So what I'll do is I'll start to wrap things up now. We've got some lovely comments from people in the audience here this evening from literally all over the world as well. We got some comments from Kelly Hanahan, brilliant session, fantastic speakers, lots of Thursday night takeaways. Nina's come back to us talking about her Find Your Fizz. And if you've lost it, borrow it from someone else to support you as an idea there as well. Kelly's reinforced that about what would you say to your future self, that comment you made, Ollie. We've got Kelly quoting the hashtag Find Your Fizz.
Find Your Fizz.
Divya's still with us, and she's just using emojis because she's still busy singing to your songs, Jackson. It's been an absolutely fantastic show. Thank you so much, everybody who's coming along this evening. I've really, really enjoyed myself, and just when I thought I couldn't get even more motivation from Jackson, he does it and lifts me up yet again. Thank you so much. Bookie, to sort of wrap up and talk about what we're doing next week?
Yes, thank you. So next week during episode 16, it's going to be slightly different because we're going to have educational book reviews. We've got a number of different guests that will be joining us, including Kieran's, I think Sunray, forgive me, Kieran, if I got your surname incorrect, Graham Andre, and Ollie Lewis again. So it's going to be an interesting discussion. No. So our guest and myself and my co-host Mark, we will just be sharing some snapshots from some of the educational books that have actually grabbed our interest during the lockdown period.
Yeah, so I'm super looking forward to that. And I mean, obviously, I've shared Andrew's book here this evening, which is a great book. I won't be digging into that one myself. Next week, I'll have something else to talk about and share about. But hopefully you'll see that as another great professional learning opportunity. I look at books like a sponge, as many of you will know. So really excited to have those three guests on with us next week. exploring some of those key takeaways from some of their favourite books that have impacted on their lockdown and their careers. So really looking forward to that. Thank you so much for our audience. Please, if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe, and we'll look forward to seeing you all on the show again next week. Thank you again to my lovely co-host Bookie and our guests Action, Jackson, Ollie Lewis and Andrew Cowley. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you
Okay, thanks everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.